guys, and welcome to this video. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're talking about the new Dior Backstage Rosy Glow blushes. Dior recently reformulated their iconic Backstage blushes, and until recently we only had two shades from the Backstage blushes, and these were the pink one and the coral one, and now they added more shades. So now we have 6 shades in total that are going to suit a lot of different skin tones, if not all skin tones actually. I decided to purchase 2 of the new reformulated Dior Backstage blushes. In this video I'm going to share with you my experience with the newly reformulated blushes. The blushes that I decided to buy are the iconic 001 Pink, and then the other one that I've chosen is 012 Rosewood. These are the 2 colors that I purchased, and I still have the old one in the coral shade, so I'm going to compare it today. And before I start, I would like to say a very special welcome to anyone who is new to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and for spending time with me. And to anyone who is returning, welcome back, dear friends. You're so appreciated. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I know that the new Backstage blushes have been available in the US for a while, and I know that a lot of you have already tried them. They just arrived in Europe, and I decided to purchase the 2 shades. Now, before I start talking about the reformulation, I wanted to let you know that I have been using the Dior Backstage blushes for many years, way before they became popular on TikTok. I believe that in the US these blushes, specifically the Rosy Glow blush in pink, became popular because of a TikTok trend, and probably because of this bright pink color. It's like a Barbie pink color, and I believe that probably the movie Barbie that is so popular right now probably has to do something with it. But this blush became popular in the past year over TikTok. It became one of the viral makeup products, but I have been using these Dior Backstage blushes long before that. Many years ago, Dior's Backstage makeup collection was much smaller, and I remember purchasing this blush approximately 9 years ago. Exactly 9 years ago, and I loved this blush. And then approximately 6 years ago, a few years later, they added the coral shade to the Backstage blushes, and I decided to purchase it immediately. And since then I have been using them on and off, and I have been decluttering and purchased another one. So I've used in total 2 of these blushes. I currently have only the coral one from the old formulation, so I'm not new to these blushes. They became popular in the US now in the past year, but in Europe they have been popular, and they have been a thing for like 10 years. They have been available in the US as well, but I believe that in Europe we were appreciating them a little bit more. Now, the interesting thing about these Dior blushes is that they react with the skin's pH and with the skin's level of moisture, so they are going to look differently on different skin tones. And initially Dior only had the rosy pink shade. This is actually Barbie pink shade, which is 001 Pink. This shade worked on almost all skin tones. I've seen it on very fair skin tones, even paler than mine, and I've seen it also on deep skin tones. This is a Backstage blush, and it really reacts with the moisture level of your skin. So the color is going to be customizable, and it's going to change a little bit depending on your skin tone. Now, I'm going to show you close-ups, and I'm going to swatch them. Before that, I wanted to let you know that these blushes now do not contain talc, and this is the biggest change that Dior are making. They reformulated the blushes and the eyeshadow palette so that they don't contain talc, and even on the box you can see the Dior commitment for sustainable beauty, strict selection and regulation of ingredients, tested efficacy on different skin types, made in France. So these blushes are made in France. I'm going to give you close-ups of the packaging so that you can see the ingredients. We don't have that many ingredients for a powder. We actually have a very small amount of ingredients, considering that this is a powder. Now I want to show you the packaging of the old one and the new one. This is the packaging of the old one, and this is the packaging of the new one. So there is not much of a difference apart from the letters. Here we only have capital letters of Dior, and then when I open them there is no difference at all. Now, a lot of people pointed out that the new blushes are not completely matte. Same was with the old blushes. They were not completely matte. They used to have a little bit of a sheen to them. They don't have visible shimmer, they don't have glitter, they don't have shimmer, but I would describe it as a luminous matte finish. and the kind of finish that doesn't look like powder on the face, but just blends beautifully on the skin. So this is the old one. I'm going to show you swatches of the old ones and the new ones. I have seen in store that the colors are actually the same. They did not change the colors, they did not change the finish of the blush. They only removed the talc, they removed the ingredients, but they kept the coral shade and the pink shade the same as the old ones. So there is not going to be a difference. Now I saw that some people are seeing differences, and when they swatch them on the arm, they say that they are quite pale. One thing that you have to keep in mind is that these blushes do not swatch well on the arm, because when people start swatching them here, like I did to show you the swatches, if you do not moisturize your arm, the swatches are not going to be very beautiful. The swatches that you're seeing on my arm are not on moisturized hand. So just keep in mind that these blushes are pH reactive, and they are going to look in a different way applied on the face and applied on the arm. Also keep that in mind when you're swatching them in store if you can, and if you want to go in store and test them, make sure to test a little bit on your cheeks, not on the arm, because on the arm you can't really get an idea how these blushes are going to look on your face, because they are going to react with your skin, with your face, and with the oils that you have here. Also, another thing that I wanted to mention is if you already have one of the old blushes and you've used it for a little while, specifically this applies to Rosy Pink. I used to have this blush in the past a couple of times because it used to be one of my favorite blushes. When you start using it and when you start dipping the brush and then applying it to your face and then again back and forth, just keep in mind that this blush is may start to change its color a little bit, because since it is pH reactive, when you are dipping the brush and then going onto your face and then back to the brush that you're using is going to transfer some of your skin's oils and some moist, probably from foundations or from skincare that you're using, and the color is going to be a little bit deeper. So it is going to be very hard to compare the two blushes unless you have a new unswatched blush from the old ones and from the new ones. Now I've had this blush a couple of times and I have to say that it looks identical to the old one. And I wore the pink blush yesterday and I have to say that it's actually identical to the old one. I did not see any significant differences. Now I want to go ahead and apply the two blushes on my face. I wanted to choose the two colors that I'm most excited about, and I think that here now with the six shades, these six shades of blushes are going to suit all skin tones. If you have fair skin tone, I think that the blushes that are going to look best are going to be the pink one, the coral one, the rosewood, and the cherry. The cherry I think is a quite unique shade that is going to work on everyone. I just don't want this kind of a coral red color, very vibrant color. And also Dior are releasing so many different products. I recently purchased the Backstage foundation. I'm going to show it to you in one of my next videos and I'm going to review it. And they also have a new Backstage palette, which is a nude palette. I'm very excited to try this one as well. It is traveling to me now, so I'm going to show it to you probably next week. Now this is the rosewood shade and this is the pink color. I'm going to apply each on each side of my face. I'm going to start with the pink one. The texture is exactly the same as the old one and it applies exactly the same as the old one. I dare to say that this new blush, in terms of shade, performance, it is identical to the old one because I already had and used two, how should we call it, like two blushes. I've already used two blushes in the past 9 years, so it is exactly the same. This is exactly how the old one used to look on me, how it used to apply on me. You can see that on my skin I can get the color immediately and it looks beautiful. I can apply it immediately. It looks very natural on my skin, and if I wait a little bit, it's going to react with the pH of my skin. So just keep that in mind when you start applying the blushes, the Backstage blushes. Now, if you apply them on top of powder, they are going to be a little bit paler, and then they're going to darken as the day goes because they are going to react with the oils of your skin. And if you apply them directly on top of foundation, they are going to appear a little bit deeper in color because of the moisture that the foundation foundation has on your skin. I personally always prefer to apply the Backstage blushes on top of powder because I feel like they blend more effortlessly and more beautifully when I apply them on top of powder. If you have fair skin tone like me, and if you choose one of the deeper shades, definitely apply it on top of powder because you're going to be able to blend it a lot more seamlessly. Otherwise, if you have fair skin tone and if you apply the blush directly on top of foundation and you don't use setting powder on your face or finishing powder, and you go in directly with the blush might look a little bit patchy and it's not going to be the best shade, but I think this looks absolutely stunning. So this is exactly how I like to wear the pink blush because it looks exactly like skin. It looks exactly like I have blushed a little bit, but it looks very natural. I'm going to build it up in a minute, but I want to show you also the rosewood. I'm going to show you the rosewood on this part of my face, and I'm going to use a different brush. I like when my blush is more subtle, but of course I know that a lot of you prefer to see how it's going to build up. And like, if you have the chance to try these blushes in store, I have seen this pink blush on deeper skin tones, and it works beautifully as well on skin tones that are tan, and it works beautifully because it is pH reactive. So this is rosewood and this is pink. Now looking at myself, now this is exactly how I'm going to wear my blush. I'm not going to apply any more for my day-to-day life, but I'm going to build it up. Now looking at myself, both sides look beautiful. I still prefer the pink one. This is one of my perfect shades, and I really like also the coral shade on my skin tone, especially for the late summer. And I'm going to link to a video where I actually show you the coral shade on my cheeks, how it looks. Right now I only have a light tinted moisturizer and a little bit of powder on my face. I'm going to make sure to write everything in the description box. I don't have highlighter, but you can probably see that my skin doesn't look completely matte. It just looks very natural. This is the thing that I love about the Dior Backstage blushes. I think that the new ones are just as good as the old ones. The application is the same. Now I haven't tried the deeper shades, the deepest shades, but I think that they're not going to look beautiful on my skin tone. And I think that Dior actually added the deeper shades for people who have tan skin tone and more rich skin tone because they're going to look absolutely stunning. Mahogany is absolutely gorgeous. If you have rich skin tone, it's going to look so beautiful. And then the berry is absolutely gorgeous as well. Now I'm talking to you and I'm not starting to build up the colors because I want to talk to you for a little while so that you can see how the color is going to change in a few minutes because it's going to start reacting with my skin. Now, a little guidance for you. If you have fair skin tone, I think that the colors that are going to look the most beautiful are 001 pink, the coral, again, very, very beautiful, especially for people who have golden undertones. And especially for the late summer months, the coral is just so gorgeous. Then cherry and rosewood are universally flattering shades. These two colors are going to suit all skin tones, from the palest to the deepest skin tones. They are going to look just beautiful. Only if you have fair skin tone, probably with cherry, be a little bit light-handed and apply this one on top of some powder to avoid patchiness and to slowly build up the color. But cherry is going to work on a lot of different skin tones. So rosewood and cherry, they are going to work on all skin tones. And then mahogany and berry, these are the colors that were developed for rich skin tones. They are going to look so gorgeous on rich skin tones, especially berry. I wish I could wear berry, but I know that these kind of colors, I love a nice berry blush, but this one is too deep for my skin tone and I'm going to look as if I'm bruised. Okay, it's been 3 minutes now and I'm not sure how it's going to look on camera. I'm seeing myself actually in the viewfinder. And I think that you can already notice the colors becoming a little bit more intense. This is as intense as they are going to get, and they last very well on me the whole day, probably because they are pH reactive. They don't wear off as other blushes. I really, really love these blushes, and I have been a fan of the blushes for many years, for 9 years now. I'm going to start building up the pink blush just so that you can see. even more when we start building it up. This is the perfect, like a Barbie pink color. I think that everyone is going to love this color. And once again, if you ask me, even if you have deeper skin tone, do not be afraid to try this color, at least try it in store, because I have seen this color show up beautifully on tan skin tone. So this is with the pink. And now moving on to the rosewood. Rosewood is definitely more intense. It already looks weird on me. Let me know in the comments below which side you prefer. I have to say that I still, after seeing all of the colors, these two are still my favorites, the pink one and the coral one. And I cannot pick which one is my favorite. I'm going to link to my video where I wear the coral shade. The coral shade, it looks so beautiful on me. I think that a lot of people do not like and do not appreciate this coral shade, but it looks really gorgeous. So overall, I'm very happy with this reformulation from Dior because they added new colors, which creates a lot more possibilities for different skin tones. And I like that they also removed the talc, which a lot of people were trying to avoid. So I really like the fact that they removed the talc. I like the fact that they changed the formulation, but they kept the quality of the products. And I'm very happy with the reformulation of the eyeshadows as well. The new formula of the eyeshadows does not contain talc, but I think that it's quite good. I used it in one of my French for a Day videos, one of the new eyeshadow palettes that I have purchased. And now if you have a little bit of time, I would love to hang out with you and finish off my makeup. I'm going to be using for my lips one color that I love from Sisley. This one is 22 Rose Paris. And then lately there is a product that I have been loving from Sisley. I bought this one. I purchased this one specifically for the summer months, and this is one of the Le Fito gloss from Sisley, and this one is in the shade Moon. It is completely white and it's almost like little snowflakes. The color is so beautiful. It can be worn alone. Look at what color I have on my arms. This is because I am in France. Most of the time I spend in France, in south of France, so I'm getting a lot of color. But anyways, my point was, this is one of the most beautiful lip glosses for the summer months because it's almost like those little snowflakes on your lips, and you can use it alone or you can mix it with and use it on top of a lipstick. I'm going to use it on top of this Sisley lipstick now. Effect is not that visible on camera, but in real life it does plump up the lips. So if you have thinner lips like mine, this is a way to make them a little bit bigger, a little bit fuller, which is always a good idea. Next, for my eyes, I have two options. One is the new YSL eyeshadow palette. A lot of you wanted to see this eyeshadow palette on my channel, so I decided to purchase this one. This is my second YSL mini clutch palette. I really love the formulation. And then my other option is going to be one of the new reformulated Dior eyeshadow palettes. I'm probably going to go for Dior because we are using Dior today. So I'm going to use this color here. The eyeshadow palette that I have is 429. It is very beautiful for the summer months. So I'm going to go ahead and pack this color all over my eyelid. Now initially I may just use my fingertip and then I'm going to use a brush. Now I have to say that the top two shades of this eyeshadow palette in particular are a little bit firm, so you have to use a brush with dense bristles. The brushes that I like to use are from REFORMULATED with this brush. But if you're using synthetic brushes, you may not get the best result, specifically for these top two shades. These three are very soft, They are lovely. These two, I love them. I love to wear them all over my eyelid. I think that they are beautiful, but they are more firmly pressed, and I suppose that it's because of the lack of talc. They are a little bit more firm to the touch, so you need to apply a little bit of concealer or primer on the eyelid so that they can catch onto something, and then use a little bit more dense brush. Other than that, the eyeshadow palette is so beautiful. I'm going to use the matte brown color just here a little bit on the outer part of my crease. And I'm using the same brush. I love that these colors blend very easily. Next, I'm taking a clean brush and I'm just going to blend everything. Make sure that everything is well blended. It's just for blending purposes. Okay, you can probably see that the blushes are getting even darker now because they react with my skin. Next, I'm going to use a little bit of kohl eyeliner just on the upper lash line. And I'm mostly going to focus this eyeliner on the outer part of my upper lash line just to create the illusion that I have thicker lashes. Then I'm going to curl my eyelashes and apply mascara. Okay guys, so this is with the mascara on. I'm just going to go ahead and brush my brows. And this is going to be the finished look. Now I cannot go out right now because probably on camera it doesn't look that obvious, but looking at myself in the mirror right now, it does look quite kind of obvious that I'm wearing two different blushes on my face. I never feel the need to reapply them during the day, probably because they constantly react with the pH of my skin, I'm not sure. Now some final thoughts on the new Dior Backstage Rosy Glow blushes. I think that the reformulation was successful. Now I have to say that when I touch right now my coral blush, which is the old formula, and the new blush, the pink blush, let's say, I see that the coral blush, when I touch them on my fingers right here, it is just a little bit smoother. I'm actually going to show you a close-up of my fingers so that you can see what I mean. So it does feel a little bit smoother, and I think this is because of the talc, of course. But considering that the new blushes don't contain talc, I think that Dior did a pretty good job. Okay, maybe you can see a little bit of my fingerprints, and then the fingerprints of my index finger where I swatched the coral blush are a little bit more blurred. I'm not sure if you can even see this on camera, but this one here looks a little bit more blurred compared to this one, but on my face they look really nice. The new blushes look very, very nice. But then the performance of the new blushes is just as good as the old ones. I don't see difference on my face. I don't see any significant difference on my face. I don't see, if I didn't know that they were reformulated, I was probably just going to think that this is a different batch, but I was not even going to notice it if I didn't know about the reformulation. I was going to think, yes, it's a different batch. There are always some slight differences with different batches of makeup products. You always can find some little differences. But overall, I think that Dior did a very good job, and I can't wait to try the new Backstage foundation as well as the new nudes palette from the Backstage line. I'm going to pop photos right here. I'm waiting for my order to arrive in a few days, and I'm going to film a video right away. I'm going to share with you my thoughts, what I think, and I think that the new Backstage nudes palette, I'm quite excited to try this one. And I'm excited to try also the reformulated Dior Backstage foundation, because this used to be one of my favorite foundations for the summer months, and I want to see how they changed it and if the change is going to be successful. I see that now they moved the alcohol a little bit down in the ingredient list, so this is probably going to make the foundation suitable even for people who have more dry, sensitive skin, because in the past, in the old version of the Backstage foundation, the alcohol was the second ingredient, which was a deal breaker for a lot of people. So that was all for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed spending time with me, and I hope that you enjoyed the peonies also in the background. A lot of you said that you love peonies, so I'm taking full advantage of the peony season, and I'm choosing the flowers by myself. So a lot of you said that it just makes you smile when you see the flowers, the fresh flowers in my background. So that's why I'm choosing them myself, to make you smile. I hope that this video made you smile, and thank you so much for spending time with me. I always appreciate your time so much. And until next time, bye.